just wanted to express a little bit of the experiences that we've had in Kansas. We're all over the board, number one. Our standard blade is a carbide blade, but we have folks that are double stacking them. We have single. We're doing a lot of different things. Backer blades, front, and so that's a starting point. We also have, for the last, I guess, 6 or 8 years, been doing what we call blade savers. I think that's the counterbalance that you're referring to, would be my guess, hydraulic power float, other people call them. And so that's another variable that gets thrown into this whole mix. We had heard other states having good experiences with the Yoma blade or with a Yoma equivalent type blade, and so we thought we were ready to move in that direction. We had a plow purchase, our last dump truck purchase. We went ahead and just did 100% hybrid type blades on that as an experiment. In hindsight, that was a mistake. We should have not jumped in so deep. We ended up, because of the bid process, the low bid was the lake effect blades. They looked like they were going to be good blades for us. They looked equivalent to the Yomas and the others, and so we were willing to give them a go. But we got off on the wrong foot. They had a manufacturing problem with that run of blades. Nebraska, I think, experienced the same thing, and so they weren't performing like they were supposed to. They weren't flexing and they weren't moving, and they're designed to be able to follow the contours of the road and spring back to where they were. Once they were flexed up, they wouldn't return back down because of the way they were manufactured, didn't have the right clearances. And so we had gotten off on the wrong foot with our field folks, or their first exposure to them, and they were failing way before our carbide blades were failing, and we had paid 2.5 times more than a standard carbide blade, and so that didn't get us off great, and so to Lake Effect's credit, they stepped up and they replaced all those blades, and they came out and they worked with our field crews and tried to comfort them in the fact that they knew that they had a problem and they were going to step up and fix the problem. But I think that the die may have been set at that point. I'm not sure, but we did not experience good luck with that. Since that initial purchase of the hybrid blades, we went out on contract, a multiple award contract, and so we have the Yoma and the Lake Effect and the Nordic, I believe, and even Cooper, I believe. We've tried some of those, and so we've experimented a little bit across the state with different manufacturer of blades, and experience has been all over the board. I wish we had a scientific kind of approach to it. Really what we have are anecdotal approaches, and so we're getting feedback, and some folks love them and some folks absolutely hate them. And so we're really a bit at a loss as to where to move from here. We're certainly not going to equip them on all of our trucks in the next purchase of trucks. They are on contract. Our folks can go out and buy them and replace their standard carbide blades with them. But if you talk to operators, they love the comfort of the blades. They reduce the vibrations that they're used to hearing. It's a lot more comfortable in the cab. Some of them claim they don't clean near as well as their standard carbide blade, and some of them claim they don't last near as long. And so there we are. I don't know that that's really valuable for you all, but that's been our experience. And so at this point, I think I'd like to open the floor up just to talk about it a little bit. If you guys have any questions for Bruce or for Mallory or myself. Brad?
Just one comment, Tim. Maybe somebody else has run into this, but we've run the Yoma blades for quite a while. But one thing that our crews have found out, that they form to the road so good that on first year chip seals, we'll actually take that chip seal off if you're not careful.
Yeah, they're pretty aggressive. I think prevailing opinion in Kansas is that double stacking carbide blades for us is pretty effective and pretty cost effective. I don't know, it's certainly not as comfortable in the cab as a hybrid style blade, but
You're talking a carbide insert.
yes, a blade with a carbide insert,
And we
double
found
stacked.
Double stacked had savings as well.
Really, over,
The single stack didn't, but they're thinner than the flame hardened, so that wasn't a surprise. And then when you double stack them, they had savings
they had savings over the flame hardened.
over the flame hardened. Another thing that I just want to mention is that that's one of the reasons that I always do surveys beginning of stuff, because the Coopers, I had found that basically our plows are not set up for ceramic. They hit the ground too hard and it's easy to break them.
Yeah.
So we didn't test any of those. We focused on other ones. And then the lake effect was on the market halfway through our study. And at that point, we were trying to narrow down blades and not add more.
Yeah, add more.
And then we
factors.
also, but ODOT internally tried a couple and they wore out very quickly.
Really? Okay.
They said it was in Lake County. It's very common for them to wear out a standard blade in a day, but they also did it with that one. So we
Interesting.
didn't push.
In Kansas, we thought maybe one of the factors that created our experiences that was so different from maybe other northern states or other states is, and we don't know this as fact, but we end up plowing a lot of bare pavement. You know, we're pushing back drifts or fingerlings that are coming across the road, or we're out there with the blade down on the surface a lot, whereas, you know, if you're out later in a storm or if there's way more accumulation or whatever, you've got that lubrication of snow on the road that tends to extend the life of a blade. So. Anything else? For those of you that didn't hear that, Colorado's saying that they're trying Coopers in multiple locations within Colorado and should have more to report next time. We've had pretty good feedback on the Cooper. Cooper, I think, offers several variations of their blades, some with the ceramic inserts and others with the carbide. And we have focused more on the carbide in Kansas, but nice thing about that is that it bolts right up just like a standard blade. You don't have to have an adapter. You don't have to have any of the other pieces that go along with it. You bolt it on and unbolt it just like you do your standard, what we would call a standard carbide blade. But I don't know, it's covered in steel, and so you may still get a little bit more of that vibration than you would one that's completely isolated from the moldboard. I'm not sure, but for whatever that's worth. It's probably a little more expensive up front, but you don't have to buy all the adapters and stuff. So I don't know if everybody can hear what Brad just said, but he's saying in South Dakota, one of the places where they've had good success with the ceramic Coopers is on their underbody plows, because you don't have near the shock value. They get constant down pressure and they go down slow. And
ceramic doesn't heat up as much, so it would, in theory, last longer.
I'd like to make, when we started with the hybrid plows, we, operator, the feedback that we get from the operators clearly is gospel. And then once they start talking, rumors spread, and before long it becomes reality. But we started with Yomas, and then there was a rumor, and I don't know if it's ever been verified, that they're now manufactured in a country that they feel that the carbide steel may not be as strong as it used to be. And so they're starting to kind of jump ship and go to more of the lake effect and more of the Cooper. So I don't know if anybody else has heard the same thing, that Yoma bits are no longer, the steel is no longer manufactured in Europe. Okay. Rumors.
we'll do our best to spread them if we can.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else? Anybody else have experience they think would be valuable to the group? The one thing that we were told, and I don't know if it's consistent across states here, but we typically would run our our blade savers, the counterbalance, with about 500 pounds of ground pressure on the plow. With the lake effect, we were being told it should be raised to like 1,000 pounds. That was so that you got good, consistent down pressure and got rid of any chatter that might exist, is what I'm told. And whether that's good advice or bad, I don't know. But so we did dial up those counterbalance to put a little more down pressure on those blades.
I know in Ohio there were some concerns too about the weight of these specialty blades that you're adding. So that's something to consider when installing them, is that additional weight on the front of the truck and the plow. Also there was some, when we installed them for our project, we did not weld any parts of them. We installed them what it said, but apparently a couple garages that had just tested them internally were told to weld parts of them. So just so you know, I don't know if it's spelled out in the report, but we did not weld any parts of those specialty blades. And just a little thing that I learned from doing this project was, if you're doing just bolted flame hardened, not the specialty, but if you flip the bolts, depending on the locks, the other way, you can always cut them off easier when you go to replace them, and you're not underneath the plow as long. So just little helpful things that I've learned from being in multiple garages that go ahead and share with you guys.
Yeah, I appreciate that. That's the trick that we had picked up from one of these states here. I think maybe it was the last meeting. The counterbalance, or the power float, or the blade saver, what it does is it actually takes pressure off of the plow. You have the standard down pressure just from the weight of the plow. These counterbalance valves will lift up on the plow. They won't lift them off the ground, but they'll lift enough weight to leave just like 500 pounds of down pressure, as opposed to full down pressure from the weight of the plow. And this theory is then that you can take some of that weight off of the plow and extend the life of the blades. And it follows the contour as the blade needs to go down. It still maintains that 500 pounds of ground pressure. And they do work, and they do tend to extend the life. This is our experience, at least. However, they're not a tool that you use 100% of the time. You have the ability to shut that off when you need more ground pressure to peel back any pack or whatever that you might need. But there are many cases out there, at least in Kansas, where we're plowing where we don't need all that ground pressure. Really just need contact with the road surface, and that will extend the life of those blades.
And I know you guys, food for thought, I know you guys had presentations on the GPS AVL and how that's moving forward a lot. There are sensors that will relay plow up, plow down, and through those kinds of technology, if you start implementing them, you can start conducting your own, how long is this blade actually lasting, as far as how many times is it actually down versus, oh, it lasted a season, or,
Yeah.
So just food for thought, plow up, plow down sensors are out there. You can just monitor your fleet that way.
Okay, well, with that, I think let's give a hand to Ms. Crow.